I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives, so as a member of Congress in District 24 of California.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
These are my questions.
Okay.
First of all, can you share why you decided to run for office?
Yeah, so I've always felt the need to serve my community or my country. Started out early as a member of the U.S. Marine Corps, serving my country, and then since then I've always tried to serve my community. So recently I moved to the Santa Barbara area about 9 years ago. I've been a Santa Barbara Police Department chaplain, trying to serve my community that way. The last 5 years I've helped coach high school football in my spare time because I love that age group. I love the future, husbands and fathers of our community. I want to be able to impact them. I know they're going through a lot. And so just trying to continually give back. And I thought that I was going to run for political office at some point. I'm a political science major. I've had that interest for a long time. But it just wasn't the right timing. I'm a dad at first.
What should the federal government be doing about nuclear energy as a potential green source to limit fossil fuel, burning for electricity, drought, water issues, oil drilling both offshore and across the district, inflation, wildly rising home prices, and homelessness?
Yeah.
This is a handful of topics.
It is. I'll try and go one by one. So from the homeless perspective, that is near and dear to my heart. Generally, it is more of a local issue because people know what works and what doesn't work in the community. That being said, and this translates into the housing costs, this translates into the housing, high cost of housing as well, but the HUD is a cabinet level position at the Fed, and there is a budget there, and you can pull from that to help homeowners or potential homeowners deal with these rising housing costs to try and get in. And then from a homelessness perspective, you can also utilize some of those funds to infuse resources into programs. The thing that concerns me though is there's a lot of money spent on trying to tackle the homelessness problem, and it doesn't necessarily translate to success. And so I'm not about just spending money and just writing a check and saying, okay, we've done our part. That's not good enough. I want to understand around the country what programs have actually worked, and are those programs being implemented here in our district? And if they aren't, then why not? And if they are, okay, then are they working? And then if they're working and there's proof that they're working, then bring as many resources as you can, because it's a horrible situation. There are people that are homeless. Many are homeless with jobs. It's not just people without jobs. There's people that just can't afford to live in this region, and so they don't have a home or an apartment or any place to stay. So from a nuclear energy standpoint, I'm all for multiple sources of energy. I think it's really important. Anytime we get stuck on one type of energy source, we risk having significant problems. You look at it even with the war from Russia and Ukraine. With the war that's going on there, the energy supply is getting choked a little bit for what Russia has historically supplied the world. Well, if you're reliant upon any one source, a conflict somewhere else in the world can greatly affect us. So I'm all for nuclear power if it's safe. I believe it is. All the different types of green energy, which nuclear could be. And fossil fuels, I don't think it's something where I know people get upset with the carbon footprint and all that, but I do believe we need to have those resources still available, because a couple years ago we saw in Texas, they were reliant on a specific type of energy, and everything froze. They couldn't supply the energy to the homes, and everyone was freezing for weeks. And we can't have that in California. We can't have that anywhere. But the best way to keep that at bay is just have as many different sources of energy as possible. Speaking of the drought, the water issues is huge for me. I mentioned I try and do as much as research as possible. My understanding from a water perspective is most of that governance of water issues is done by the state. I think there's about a dozen different organizations at the federal level that do help out the state with water resources and all of that, and I want to look into that more. 12 seems like a lot to me, but I want to look to see how the federal government can help. but we need to figure out how we can save as much water as we can. And I know people don't necessarily like to build dams and they don't like to do all these different things, but we need to figure out some way where we don't just lose all the water when it does come and flow out to the ocean. We've got to be able to build up our reserves. Generally it would be a state level or local level thing with the desalination plants, but I would like to look into that, try and get different communities, whether it's from federal funding or whatever, try and do something to where we have greater water supply. I'm having the time of my life talking to people. I mean, I'm not getting into this for a career in politics. I'm 50 years old, I have a great career, I have other things to do, you know, that's not what this is about. But getting to talk to so many different people with diverse backgrounds and, you know, socioeconomic, whatever, like just a huge diversity of people has been an absolute joy. And the reason I bring that up is because I do want to help people, and it is a privilege, and I'm passionate about it. I've done it in so many different arenas, and I wasn't sure what it was going to be like doing a political office thing, but I'm actually more excited than ever because I realize I can impact and help more people than I had access to before. So that's the thing I want to share. Like, I hope people understand my heart towards this whole thing.